I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds, and welcome to the Carnola Truth. I have a special guest on our show today. Her name is Angela Shepard, and she's from Auburn, Alabama. And Angela is a unique story that we think that it's important for our listeners to hear. And Angela is a wife of 25-year marriage. She's got four great, amazing children, and she lives in Auburn, Alabama. And I want to bring her on. Angela, are you there? Well, welcome to our show, The Kernel of Truth. And glad to have you on. We had a couple of things that we wanted to talk to you about. I thought your story was really amazing. That's why I wanted you to come on. Before we go into your story, though, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? I've already told the audience you were married and had four great kids and you live in Auburn. But what else would you like to add to that?
Well, that's had been majority of my adult life, was being a wife, being a mom. Was able to stay at home with my kids, and we actually are in a full-time ministry here. My husband's the baseball chaplain at Auburn, and so I really was never really interested really in political stuff until after the election. I've most recently, we can kind of backtrack a little bit, but I've most recently started a organization called Voters for Election Integrity, and it is just getting off the ground, really new. I am still working on getting my website up, so I hate that was not done before I got on here today, but unfortunately it's taking a little bit more time. I've never really done any of that. So anyway, but so I just really started, following after the 2020 election. I actually ran across Steve Bannon and listening to him and just trying to take in everything, because I honestly just had no idea. I was so naive to elections, the process. So anyway, I started listening to him, and he actually had Dan Schultz, I think is his name, with the precinct committeeman on there. And so he kept bringing him on, and I thought, well, I think I'll reach out to him, because I just didn't know where to even begin to be involved. I didn't know of like groups that met or anything like that. So anyway, I reached out to Dan actually, and he got back with me, connected me with someone else actually in this area that had reached out to him as well, and got us together. We figured out where to go in our local area, because that's something that I kept hearing, like, get local at. And so anyway, I went to some meetings, and then from there, my story kind of begins. So I'm not really sure if you want me to continue in that or.
Well, I want to make a comment, and the comment is thank you for getting involved. And that's what we have to have all across this country: regular people, citizens, patriots who love their country, who want to get involved. And really and truly, you did a lot to find out, to take that extra step, because a lot of people simply don't know, and they're frustrated, and they're throwing their shoes at the TV. They're mad and they're angry, but they don't know what to do. And so the fact that you took that extra step, and I applaud you for trying to set up an organization in order to get more and more people involved. Because when you want to change something, when you want to fix it, you have to have twice the pressure from the bottom is coming from the top to overcome it. And you can only do that with people power. And so what you're doing, I think, is a great thing. But go ahead and to continue with the story, because I want people to know why you got involved. You said a little bit about it, but go ahead. If you've got more, let us know.
Well, so being from Georgia, I was like, of course, I told my husband, I'm like, oh, we got to move back. He's like, you're crazy. We just moved here. And I was like, but there's so much wrong in Georgia. And of course, not knowing really or understanding elections and how that all worked, little did I know that even in my own backyard, there were issues. And so from beginning in May of 2022 is when I'm sorry, not 2021 is when I really decided. My sister-in-law was like, we were talking, and and it was fun. It was just like this, all this information that I was learning, and even people around me were like, whoa, 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 it's just a lot, it's a lot. And I'm like, I know, I know. And my sister-in-law challenged me. She was like, okay, a year from now, I want to challenge you that we're not sitting and having the same conversation, that you actually really figure out how you can take all that you're learning and the knowledge and go and make a difference. And so from that conversation kind of pushed me out. I'm very kind of an introvert. And so it was very scary actually going into these meetings and meeting these people. And but I did. And so from that, I got involved in my Republican Party, my local Republican Party. And then another friend that fall of 21 had introduced me to a guy that actually at the time was our election official here in my county. From there, I'm sure he wishes my van had never driven up to the courthouse, because from there, it has just been like, I have been questions, just digging and trying to understand how the election process works here in the state of Alabama. And he actually is a lawyer as well. So not only understanding the process, but also understanding the election law. So I kind of feel like I have gone to school with having him kind of lead me through a lot of what I've been doing. But anyway, so he is no longer the official here for our elections. But from that friendship grew just a passion in me to figure out how and what is going on. And so which brings me to just the understanding of the, so prior to elections, they have this thing called LNA testing. And so logic and accuracy testing.
Well, you know
And
what, Angela, before you get it, I got to ask you a quick question. Okay.
Okay.
What voting machines do you use in Alabama?
The ES&S DS200s.
Okay, the DS200 that's the tabulator. That's what you're using there.
Yes.
Do you use the touch
Tabulators, yeah.
screens? Do you have the Express Vote touch screens as well?
Yes, we have Express Vote and the poll pads that you sign in
Okay.
on iPads.
Okay, we have those in Arkansas too. I just wanted to know which machine you used, but go ahead. So they do this thing called you said a logic and accuracy test.
Okay, so the LNA test is a public testing that voters or citizens can come and observe the machines being tested for how they will be used on election day. So with ES&S DS200s, they have three modes. They have an administrative mode, which is the ES&S that they have that, or the probate judge, whoever's over the elections, or the election official would have that administrative access. Then they have an open mode and a closed mode. So during the LNA, we are given test like stacks of, they send test ballots in that you can feed through the machine. And then they also send you the results to make sure that those results actually match to what you have been given. So anyways, like I said, that typically is not something that people come to, or that most people are even aware that is happening before elections. So anyway, I decided that before that testing day of May 16th, 22 here, I decided I was actually going to be a poll watcher for the first time. And so I knew that I would be away from my precinct. So I applied for my absentee ballot. So a friend of mine, a week before that LNA testing, was like, hey, why don't you make copies of your absentee ballot and see if the machines will accept them? And I'm thinking, okay, yeah. So anyways, I did that. And so I made 8 photocopies on just flimsy Xerox copy paper, and just kind of, cut it down to size. And actually, when I went in there to put the ballot through, it was too large. So then I had to go down the hall and get more. I had to get other, scissors and cut the edges off, even more so that it would fit into that tabulator. But let me back up a second. So I did not ask the probate judge if I could do this. So the probate judge in the state of Alabama is your chief election official. And it was a little bit of a disarray that day. It was kind of, ballots were kind of everywhere and things were just kind of, not organized, I would say. So I did not ask him if I could do this. A friend of mine down in Baldwin County, close to the beach, had actually done it already earlier that day. We were like maybe an hour difference from each other, and he was not able to record his because he had asked his probate judge to if he could even do it, and his probate judge said yes, but you cannot record. Well, I did not ask permission, and I went in there and I recorded the machine taking these copied ballots on the flimsy white paper. And to be honest with you, I don't really think I truly understood what I was doing that day, to be quite honest. I really was just testing something, like an experiment almost, like, would this work? So after that, took the 8 ballots, and I went straight to the probate judge. And there was an ES&S state representative there at the time, and I told him, and both of them were very dismissive of what I did,
Hey,
and
Angela.
very much like, well, yes.
Well, I want you to hold on to that thought because unfortunately we're at a quick break. Let's hold on to that thought. We're going to take this break. And sorry I didn't tell you earlier,
Okay.
but we'll come right back. We'll be right back with the
Okay.
Kernel of Truth with our special guest, Angela Shepherd. We'll be right back. Thanks. Welcome back to the Kernel of Truth. I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds with our special guest, Angela Shepherd. And we want to pick up the story because she was telling us about what was happening when she was using her absentee ballot to run through a DS 200. Go ahead and pick it up where you left off. You were cutting off the edges to make sure it could fit.
So when I saw that they were counting all of them, I was just immediately just like, oh my gosh, I really couldn't believe it worked. I mean, even on the video, I'm like, it really did it. Like, so anyway, I did go to the ES&S representative, like I said, and to the probate judge, and they both kind of were dismissive and were like, this can't happen because people are watching people put their ballots in, tabulators and all of this. And I couldn't believe really how they responded, to be honest with you. And
So the
go ahead.
reaction wasn't about like, oh man, this is a problem. They moved the goalpost of these things can't accept fraudulent ballots to, well, you wouldn't have the opportunity to stick them in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not like, oh my gosh, we have a problem. We need to get to ES&S. I mean, there's an ES&S office here, not about 2 hours from here, north of us in Birmingham. And so I'm just like, hello, this isn't a problem. Like, but instead, it's interesting to me because the night after this happened, well, the former Secretary of State had immediately, once this happened in Lee County, he sends out an email to all the probate judges, anyone I think that dealt with elections, to warn them about this. Don't let anyone do anything else like this. And then he actually had a phone call with my friend down in Baldwin County, had his lawyers and this couple that actually were the couple that used their absentee ballot to make the copies down in Baldwin County, trying to, I guess, I'm not really sure what his agenda was with that call, other than just to make sure that they did not break any laws. But let's be clear, as a public testing, it was not election day. So we need to be very clear with that, because obviously on election day, you would not want to do that if you know what's right. But I proved that this could happen.
Right.
So
And these LNA tests, they're designed to try to give confidence to the public that illegal votes can't
Yes.
happen, and that there's no way you could rig the system or rig the elections with these voting machines. And you proved that there's no special paper needed. There's no proprietary paper that's needed. It doesn't have to be an actual mark from a pen or a pencil. It can just be a photocopy on regular paper, and it will count it the same as a vote that somebody had done legally. That's what you proved.
yeah. Well, yes, and that the DS 200 does not, or know, to be like, hey, this is not a real ballot, or hey, you've already put this one in there. That seven other times. Like it doesn't, there's nothing in this. And I use this analogy a lot when I'm speaking. It's kind of like going to the vending machine. If you copy $1 and you take that copy $1 to try to go get you a candy bar or a Coke, not like now we use our cards, but used to, it's not going to give it to you, right? It's going to spit it right back out. There's obviously a component within those machines that say, this is not real. So I don't understand why we cannot get this looked at, because I know for a fact that, I might be going too far down in the story. I don't know how far you want me to go in this, but the next time I came to the LNA testing, it was very interesting to say the least.
No,
but,
let's hold the second time you come back for our next segment, because I want to talk a little bit more about this one and the fact that you put in how many ballots did you feed in?
8.
8. All 8. You put all 8, and it counted all 8 of them.
Yes.
And I just think that is amazing, because the LNA test is supposed to set up to give confidence to the public, right? That these machines are working flawlessly. My question is, do you have it in state law that they have to, like in Arkansas, it's in state law that they have to do this dog and pony show for the public? Do you know if that's the same in Alabama?
It is. It is. It's at least in our administrative code. I'm not sure. That would be a Robert question for the Title 17 as far as in our elections, but it's definitely in the administrative code that the probate judges and everyone who runs our elections in Alabama goes by. So yes.
And after they do these LNA tests there, we have a certain procedure that they go through here in Arkansas. Do you know what the procedure is they do after the LNA test is done? Okay, in order to make sure the machines are exactly the way they are for the election.
As far as I know, what they did was, they ran these test ballots. They pull out the tape and make sure that that all the numbers matched up or whatever, and then they close it down like they would on election night, and then they put a little seal that is stating that it's been a certified machine, that it's been tested, and it's ready to be taken to the precinct.
Got it. Well, that's exactly the way they do it here in Arkansas. And I have to bring this up because I had one election commissioner tell me that this proves that the machine is operating properly and that they secured it. They've locked it. They put security tape on it. It's not connected to the internet. They put it into a secure location so that when the election day comes, nobody has touched it or messed with it. And I asked the lady, I said, well, okay, but let me ask you a question. Do you know what's inside that machine that makes it work? And she said, well, what are you talking about? A computer? I said, yeah, a computer. So inside that, it is a computer. Actually, it's a Dell computer. And I said, inside that machine, the computer runs. And I said, pretty much exactly like the computer at home. I said, do you have a computer at home? And she said, yeah, I do. And I said, well, in your life, have you ever had to change the time on your computer for daylight savings time? And she thought for a second. She said, no. I said, why? Because I'll tell you why. It knows the date and time. So any test that you run before an election is irrelevant because it would be programmed, the computer would be programmed to run on election day. And it would run different programs. For example, only men over 80, it would change the vote or alter their vote. Men over 80 between the times of 11 and 12. And 12 to 1, it would be just women between 70 and 75. You see what I mean? There would be so many different opportunities to program the machine to cheat. You would never, ever catch it. That is the problem that we currently have. And I said, and I'm sure the same thing is in Alabama. And the problem is we have people who are in charge of elections who have no idea how they work. They got no idea. And so, and we have found that over and over again. People swear up and down. They know how this system works, and they work in the system, and they love it because it's convenient. And convenient trumps everything. Plus, nobody's held accountable. And I'm sure that's the way it is there in Alabama. Now, I took a little time here because I want you to talk about the second time you came back right after break. We're going to take about another 15 seconds. So we're going to go to a break, and then we're going to come back. And I want you to tell us exactly what happened then. I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds, and we're the Colonel of Truth, and we're here with our special guest, Angela Shepard from Auburn, Alabama. We'll be right back. Thank you. Welcome back to the Colonel of Truth, and I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds again with our special guest, Angela Shepard, who is out of Auburn, Alabama. She has a unique and absolutely unbelievable story about what happened to her when she was trying to help with their elections, and the information that she learned considering the ES&S voting machines and their LNA test. And last time, Angela, we were just talking about what happened the first time you went. Tell us about the second time that you went back.
Okay, real quick, I do want to jump back a little bit for what you were saying. The thumb drives that are put in those DS200s on election day, or even I think they put them in during the testing as well, right? So they are programmed to who knows what, right? I mean, we're trusting a company to do what we say we want on those, but how does anyone truly know, right? So I think that's very interesting that we are so trusting of a company. But anyway,
real fast before you go to that, speaking of that company, who owns that company?
Maybe you know that.
I do.
I don't really know.
I know the answer is unknown. We know that the McCarthy Group, actually run ES&S. They are a private equity fund, and the people that are their investors who actually invest in ES&S in McCarthy Group are hidden. We're not allowed to know who they are behind the corporate veil.
Wow.
But their bylaws refuse to allow anybody to know who are the investors, number one. Number two, we have no idea how much money they make.
Or how they make it.
We're not allowed to see. So we don't know what kind of money. They say, well, they're barely making it. We have no way of knowing. And when NBC tried to find out and asked them, they said, well, we're not going to tell you how much we make. We don't have to. We're a private company. So that is who Alabama and Arkansas and many other states have outsourced their elections to, a private for-profit company who refuses to tell us who owns it and who refuses to tell us how much they make. But anyway, go ahead. We do want to go.
So it's okay. The second time I came back for the general election, and there was a paper that was being passed out that we were given when we came, stating it was like your name. I promise that I will only use the ballots that are provided to me today, blah, blah, blah. And you had to sign your name on there and date it. Well, thankfully, I did not do that. And so because I did not, and I refused to sign that, the probate judge told me that my name would be given to our attorney general. And I'm thinking, what did I do? I mean, this is a public testing. And so I left there a little bit like, I cannot even, I wasn't scared or anything, but I just didn't really understand. So immediately I reached out to the attorney general's office. I immediately got a phone call back the next morning from one of the chief counsel, and he was great. And within 24 hours of contacting him, I was told that no, my name was not given by the attorney general's office, and not that paper or document, I called it a disclosure form, was not given by the attorney general's office staff or the attorney general. To their knowledge, they were not able to go into much detail at that time. I was still in a pending lawsuit, and so there was that client attorney privilege. But I got the answer that I knew to be true, right? That I felt that it was a targeted kind of LNA testing that day, because it's interesting, because from the May 16th to the October testing, wow, quite a difference in the way that the LNA testing was done in my county. I will say that. And so anyway, I just, that is part of this story and journey for me, that I think they wished that, or they thought I was just going to go away. I would just kind of do what I did and not bother them ever again. And if they came out enough in front of the story, or enough to kind of make me be, some sort of, I was classified as a rogue agent, and those kinds of things, then maybe I would just get tired of fighting this. But I knew that there had to be something more that I'm not understanding. And so I just continue to this day to fight. And that was May 16th of 22 that I did that. And here we are, October of 23. And to my knowledge, nothing has been done to secure those DS200s in the sense of being able to decipher ballots, and if they're, been run once, if they've been copied. So, it's been a big fight. I mean, I fought at the local level, at the state level, but
Well, let me ask you. You said there was a big change between May and October. Tell us what you saw. What changed?
it was just more organized because, May was just kind of like a free for all. And no, October was very like everything was set up to a certain degree. And so, I don't know that I said this, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I do know that the ES&S representative that was there in May was back there in October, and he told someone that what I did caused a crap show behind the scene for ES&S. So, ES&S may want to skirt under the rug and try to get away from this, but I mean, the truth is the truth, right? And it's unfortunate that people can't handle that. But my video proves that this can be done. ES&S actually states that it does only accept certain paper, the 80-pound cardstock. It only, will reject if it's not that, or the ink and things like that. So
security measures that really don't exist.
Yes, exactly. And even CISA even has it written in their own words too.
Do you know what? Can you tell our audience what CISA?
Oh, you're going to ask me. I need my expertise. But it's
the federal agency that told everybody
Yes.
that we had the most safest election ever in 2020.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Krebs was in charge at the time. But I got you. So basically, I
won't forget that now.
So they got involved as well. Then a little bit, as far as it's saying that these are security measures when in fact they're not. Correct?
Sure, absolutely. And I mean, listen, the EAC. I mean, it's interesting to me. I mean, there's so much in the EAC, and I mean, it's the Elections Assistance Commission, if people don't know what the EAC is. But I mean, there is, and I'm going, we're not even following our own, I mean, the federal guidelines for these the DS200s. I mean, we're breaking
Angela, what we found in Arkansas is that most of the state legislatures simply super copy what the federal law says. And in a lot of instances, and they really don't, they put it in their state law. They really don't think too much about it other than, okay, the Help America Vote Act have a 2002 says this. Okay, we'll take that and we'll put it in our state law. And that's what many states did, to include Arkansas. And that's what we've got now. And we've got some real issues with the machines and how they operate. I would like to bring you back on for some closing arguments after we get through with this segment. We'll bring you back because I want to ask you a couple more questions. So for right now, we'll tell the audience this is Colonel Conrad Reynolds, and this is the Colonel of Truth. And we hope we will be back with our special guest, Angela Shepard, here in just a few minutes. Be right back. Welcome back to the Colonel of Truth. I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds, your host. And we're here. We're going to talk with our special guest, Angela Shepard, out of Auburn, Alabama. She just told us an amazing story about how she was able to prove that these machines, particularly the ES&S tabulator, the DS200, does not really operate the way that they say it should as far as security measures. And she was able to take an absentee ballot and make 8 copies. And during the logic and accuracy test, she ran it through and it counted every one, to everybody's amazement, to include their county officials. And she wasn't, I guess you could say you weren't greeted with open arms by doing that, were you?
Oh, no, not at all. Definitely.
They weren't too happy with your actions. Well, usually when, and why is that? Well, I'd like to have a conversation between Will and you and myself, because I think it's important. We see that there's a lot of effort and a lot of energy that goes behind trying to convince the public that these machines are absolutely 100% safe. Not a problem. There is no problem here. So nothing to worry about. Move on. But then when something comes up that shows, in fact, there's a problem, that's when they get really animated, and that's when they go after people. That's when they either sue, go after you, try to knock you down. And these LNA tests is just one part of what I call the dog and pony show. The dog and pony show to prove to everybody else. It's kind of like the magician with the black hat. I use this example a lot. But the magician with the black hat, and he says, okay, no, nothing to see here, folks. Look inside the hat. And they bring somebody from the audience to come up and verify that everything is okay. That is what the LNA test is for. And that's why they want people to come so that they look at it and they go, I saw it. It was all perfect. It ran well. But see, the difference is that the magician knows the trick. He knows that where's the rabbit is, or whether it's underneath, his cape or behind him. The people who are there don't know the trick. They just see and they go, oh, it's all okay. There's nothing here. It's all normal. And that is what they do to convince people that everything is good. And then what you did, though, was pull back the curtain and you showed something they didn't want people to see. And is that how you feel? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what it looked like to me.
Oh, no, definitely. Real quick, I will add this real quick. There, a week after I did that, there was a county commissioner that had actually, I don't know, I haven't seen the case or what exactly he was charged for doing, but there were witnesses that state that he was putting absentee ballots in the machines and just feeding them through. Now, I don't know if that was one ballot that he was feeding over and over again, or if it was a copy ballot like mine. But I just found it interesting that he did that a week after I did what I did. Now, he did it on election day. That is the difference. And then his case was dropped in February of this year. And so that meant no prosecution. It's unreal.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there are several stages and several things that they do to make the machines look like everything is on the up and up. And again, most people are not allowed to ask questions. For example, here in Arkansas, nobody's allowed to open up the machines. Otherwise, you void the warranty. So you're not allowed to look at them. Now, we'll have our Secretary of State or other people that will say, oh, I've seen in the machine, and they showed me where the modem should go, and there is no modem there. We have no modems. And I'm thinking, you have no clue what you're talking about because you don't know what a modem would look like if it were to be hidden. There are many types of modems, not just one that goes in one particular slot. But unfortunately, that is the verification everybody's supposed to have and feel good about. And I think something you said earlier in the program, we got a company that we're supposed to trust. Okay. They got these thumb drives that they send. All those thumb drives, by the way, are owned by ES&S. Yes. All those thumb drives were programmed by ES&S. Yes. And all those thumb drives are plugged into the machines. And the people who are plugging them in have no idea what's on them. They don't know what the program is. And in fact, here in Arkansas, and I'm sure the same in Alabama, we're not allowed to look at the programming at all. And are you allowed to see any of the programming?
No.
Okay.
No.
Let me ask you, do you use you said you did use the Express Vote, the touch screen?
That's for the disabled there.
Yeah.
For the disabled?
Yeah, for the ADA. Yeah, for the ADA. I would say, yes, we have them at every precinct.
Yep.
But I do not know how used they are. I do know they are at times, but it's, I've asked people about it and they're like, well, nobody even used it.
Well, that's the purpose of them.
They are
anyway.
available.
Yeah, the purpose of those are for the handicapped, and of course they use barcode, and we have a real problem with that because in Arkansas everybody uses them, everybody except for we have 4 counties that on election day allow to have paper ballots that you fill in the oval. That's what y'all use, correct?
That is what we use, yes. Yeah, but for the Express vote though, it comes out and it's a printed sheet with barcodes all over it. And then you do have like the names of the people down at the bottom, but can you read barcode? I don't know that it actually read who I voted for based upon that. And I think we're actually breaking our own state law. That is something I would have Robert delve into more than me, but I know that's in Alabama. I'm pretty sure that's
we have
okay,
a law.
so.
We filed a lawsuit here in Arkansas, just so you know, against ES&S, our Secretary of State, and our State Board of Election Commissioners, because of that very fact. We said we cannot read barcode, and under federal and state law, it says that I have to be able to verify that the person I'm voting for is on my ballot before I cast it. Well, the problem we have is we have, in essence, two languages. One, it's in barcode. It could be in Russian. It could be in whatever, whatever, right? Chinese. We don't know. And then the other one is English. But the machine only counts the barcode. It counts in the language that we're not able to read or understand. So we're suing.
And it's blank too. It's blank when you put it in there.
What's that?
I said it's blank when you put it in there. I mean, it's just a blank piece of paper. At least it is here.
Well,
I don't know what
it's blank. Yeah. It has a barcode on top when you first put it in. Okay. That barcode tells that machine which ballot style you're supposed to vote on. What we don't know, what we don't know is what other instructions that barcode that just came off the internet tells that machine to do.
Do you guys use the e-poll books?
Yes.
Do you use ES&S e-poll books?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so so that next ballot is printed off the information from the e-poll books of ES&S. And did you actually know that ES&S is in control of the whole poll book then and registered voter list?
Yes, and that makes me very anxious and nervous about that when I realize that. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, because used to, we would have our printed, poll list or whatever. So it was printed. But that they're the ones that someone in each state, but from what I understand, is programming those thumb drive, like our poll books now electronically, which is, I'm like, okay, so who's doing that here? I would like to know. Is it? I'm not really sure. That's what I'm trying to, that's going to be something I'm going to try to be looking into as well. Cause I'm like, that's not good. And it's kind of scary that that's the case.
Yeah. There are a lot of steps in the whole system that are opaque. We're not able to see, we're not able to know. And the barcode thing, of course, I know y'all don't have that, is a big problem if you're only using it for the handicapped and disabled. It's a bigger problem here. And my whole point is that a barcode, since we can't read it, although I will tell you, Angela, we've had people that will, county clerks, oh yeah, you can read it. We had one county clerk that put out a booklet on how to read a barcode. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. In order to try to counter our argument, you go, oh yeah, you can read it. You can read it. Well, here's my example to people. I said, if you go and you buy go to Walmart and you buy a bottle of Heinz ketchup. On the back of Heinz ketchup, it's got a barcode. Okay, because it's the same label. Doesn't matter where you buy the bottle, right? And you run it through the scanner to buy it. It's self-checkout, right? And it says $1.99. Okay, great. But you take that same bottle of Heinz ketchup and you go to a 7-Eleven and you run it through and it's $2.99. Hold it now. It's the same barcode. Why is it a different price? It's because whoever programmed in the computer to tell what that value will be. That is the difference.
Wow.
That's the difference. And so we tell people, just because it's got a barcode, but see, we've come to trust barcodes on a lot of things, but we really don't stop to understand how they function and work. And that's why we need to know how these machines interpret that barcode to determine if it's in fact the right name. And we'll never know that because they've never given that up. It's proprietary. They won't let you know.
I love that.
So we said because of that, you should never have it in an election. No black boxes, nothing opaque. But that is the problem that we have. What else do we?
And in Alabama, the hand marked ballots that you use. Have you ever noticed the black lines around the edge?
Yes, the little ticking dots or whatever.
Yeah.
Or
ES&S calls that a barcode. That is a barcode that they're reading to know the ballot style that it's checking. Again, it doesn't read the English on that ballot. It reads location of spots based on the barcode.
I was going to tell y'all this real quick before I forget. So I'm not really sure. In Alabama, we have ballot accounting certificates, which at the end of the night, each precinct inspector has to fill it out. It's like a check. You're supposed to be able to know how many people came in and how many ballots went through the tabulators. And just for instance, here we had one precinct that had 183 more ballots that went through the tabulators than checked into those poll pads. Based on Alabama state statute currently, we have no way to look into that, to audit that or anything. That's where I am right now, is pushing for a state post-election audit here in Alabama. But I just wanted to tell you that because
But they
I
do
think
like
it's really important.
They do like to lean on that heavily.
They don't want anybody
Yes.
going through and looking at them. In fact, if you were to challenge an election by a state law, and it's not just in ours, in many other states, says that you have to recount the ballot in the manner that it was counted in the first place, which means, guess what? You have to run them back through the same machine. You're not able to do a hand count. So there are all kinds of problems with the system, but it's all set up to where it makes it impossible in some ways to be able to find the malfeasance, and they can get away with it with impunity. And if ever there's a problem, it's always a computer glitch. But Angela, I can't thank you enough for coming on our program and telling us your story. We've got about, 50 seconds left. What is your advice to all the people listening to you right now? What would be your advice to them?
I just encourage everyone to get local. I mean, really, because statewide is very overwhelming at times. But I would say find people that that are like-minded with you. And I would say, we really just need kind of a new generation, if you will, people like us that are paying attention, that are understanding what's going on, being poll watchers, paying attention, looking at voter rolls, things like that. I mean, there's so many different areas you can be involved in, but I would say.
All right. Well, I would say you're 100% right. It's patriots have to take back their country, and they got to start by taking back their elections. And that's what you're doing right now. We respect you. We thank you for taking your time to come on our show, The Kernel of Truth. You're welcome back anytime. Thank you so much, Angela. And that wraps it up for our show this week. I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds with The Kernel of Truth. Thank you, and join us next week for another great episode. Give this video a thumbs up, if you will. Like and subscribe to our channel. Very important for us to spread this message to everybody, and I can't do it without your help. This is The Kernel of Truth, and I'm Colonel Conrad Reynolds, and thank you for joining us.